Hello. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Shop Talk. We are hanging out on my couch today. Oh, shoot. I just remembered I was going to put my camera on a tripod because it shakes when I hit my desk. I am excited to be back. I missed you guys last month. Obviously, I was in the hospital. It was chaos and quite the shock in my life. I really am excited for what we're about to do today. I can't wait to get into it. Thank you so much to everybody who has been here and has been in supporting and engaging and checking in and being a part of the chaos in my life. And I'm really excited to talk about today's topic, the social media piece. I'm want to approach this piece from a few different perspectives. One of the perspectives being, do you even need social media? Is it even something that is helping your business grow? And if not, why are we on it? Why are we using it? I want to talk a little bit about the addictive elements of social media and how, if you're old enough to remember having a life before social media, how it's not normal to spend hours a day on here and how that is stealing literally our lives from us. I want to talk a little bit about things like the rage baiting, and why do I care about some drama happening in someone's life halfway around the world? How is that improving my life? What is this going on? I just want to talk about all these things that social media has introduced into our lives that is affecting us in negative ways, quite frankly, and what it looks like to use social media in a way that serves us and is effective for us as humans, as business owners. How can we use it, and then how can we also reclaim our lives? Because I just think that our lives are being given up to these are social media overlords, and they're benefiting. We are not. We are being harmed. So those are my thoughts today, friends. Welcome. I'm excited to get into it. Who's here with us? I'm on my couch today, as I said. I'm snug as a rug, snug as a bug in a rug with my blankets. I have my other monitor right here, so I'll be referencing that for notes and things. I got lots to talk about. I'm going to be really disciplined today. I know that I always come on with lots of things I want to talk about, and the hour runs out so fast. So I'm trying to really pare it down and not bring so many things to talk about so that we don't run out of time. So we've got some stuff here. I can't wait to get into it. For folks who are brand new, who've never met me before, hello. My name is Lindsay Johnson, aka The Radical Connector. I talk about all things business development, entrepreneurship, ethical marketing and sales, personal growth, and how to play bigger, how to take bigger swings in our lives and in our businesses, and what that looks like for you. What's up? How are you doing? What is your first thought for us here? Again, hey, Lindsay, I literally created a Bernie meme and sent it to my therapist yesterday. I said, I'm once again asking for your support. I said, I'm treating the internet like my personal therapist. I was watching a video because I also consume content on social media. Actually, my algorithm is pretty nice right now. I'm getting some really fun content. See, social media hooks me in because I love learning. I love learning stuff, and so it hooks me in with the learning. Again, that's our human nature to be curious and to want to learn, and so that stuff gets us hooked in, right? But it was talking about in the US that, like, the problem with Bernie Sanders, that he's just regurgitating the same stuff that has not been getting the Democrats anywhere. And anyways, I'm not well versed enough in American politics to get into it, but it was an interesting way of looking at it. Anyways, Belle, what's up? How you doing? How are things? How are things going? So, friends, before we dive into today, I would love to hear. Sort of some updates, like what's been going on. I know we missed last week. I know some of y'all weren't able to make it to our hot seat business coaching if you're in our community this last month. What's going on? We are at mid-June. We are like halfway through the year. Do you know that I still haven't updated my 2025 vision board from last year? Like, we are halfway through the year. What's been going on? How are you? How is business? How is life? Well, it's a real struggle for me. I don't feel comfortable sharing my life online and spent too much time online. It impacts my business and life for sure. Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that, is important for us to talk about, this idea of authenticity and how we are expected to have an opinion on everything, weigh in on everything, share all the parts of us, right? Be authentic. Like, it's too much friggin' pressure. I think people have way too much access To us, we are expected to be well versed and professional, like not professionals, but like pros in like all things, and share opinions and weigh in. And I think it's unreasonable. I think it's unreasonable to ask that. um, Megan, what do we have here? I think one of the negative ways socials have impacted me is that it creates an illusion of support network without the required vulnerability. So I avoid my actual loved ones in favor of socials. I literally have some things to talk about on parasocial relationships today, because that's exactly it. You know, we are experiencing an isolation crisis, right? Which is more so sort of the result of this late stage capitalism and this hyper independence, this rugged individualism, and how we all living alone in cement boxes, right? And are so disconnected from each other, from community, from food, from nature, from animals, whatever, right? And so social media can feel like it fills that gap for connection, but it doesn't. Because, of course, parasocial relationships, you know, getting those likes, getting those comments, it might temporarily kind of feel good, like you're feeling seen, acknowledged, what you're saying is landing, but they're not real relationships. And it's been interesting going through this whole process I went through. For those who don't know, I had to have emergency spinal surgery at the beginning of June. Came out of left field. And what was humbling and powerful was how many people are in my life that stood up, came to visit me, brought food, helped me. I have bandaging and has to get changed every couple of days. They're here, they're bringing coffee, it's letting me shower so they can help me change my bandages. You know, they're sending flowers, they're calling, they're checking in, like real people really showing up for me, and me being able to ask for help and ask for support of what I need. And it's like, that's what matters. And I think if we think about these parasocial relationships and we think, yes, a like is nice, but does that person know you? Are they there? Are they showing up? Are you guys in each other's lives? No, it's a stranger from around the world. It's not real, right? And it can, what is that, the the Lord of the Rings, it tricks us, right? Like it tricks us into thinking that we have friends and we have connection. But do you? Right? When things are good, who do you phone? When things are bad, who do you phone? When things are you need help, who do you phone? Right? And it could be a really humbling realization to realize that maybe we don't have that right now. But then how do we build that? Because that is as long as we keep thinking we have something through these parasocial relationships, we don't go out and build actual relationships. And building relationships takes time and takes energy and takes effort. So as long as we are, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know I'm kind of getting preachy, but as long as we are, you know, spending 4 hours a night scrolling on our phones, we are not out for dinner or inviting friends to come over and play games or going for a walk with friends. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean when I say social media is like stealing our lives, stealing our time, right? And I remember reading this thing a few years ago. I think it was probably 2 years ago, and it said how it was an American stat, but it was something like in the 70s, I think it was a very high percentage, maybe the 60s, a very high percentage of Americans who had not resumed their pre-pandemic level of socializing, and how we have like our endurance has kind of gone down, our tolerance has gone down, things have gone down, and how we have to work to stretch our tolerance. We have to work at not just plopping down in front of the TV at the end of the day, but no, make plans, go out. And yes, you might feel tired, but you will develop an endurance again around that. You will get those energy levels higher, right? But, you know, sitting and scrolling, sitting and watching TV, gosh, no. Hey, Emery, I was just talking about you in a Facebook group. Somebody wrote a book on parenting, and it was Amy, actually. I don't know if Amy's on today, mentioned you. So I think you could watch for someone to be reaching out to you soon. Yeah, you're deep. What'd you say? Deep in doing your email sequence. Yes, I'm excited to read it. Thanks for the check-in this morning, too, by the way. Launching your Get Esh Done problem. You know what's so funny? I used to have a program called, or a group called that, the Get Shit Done group. get shit done, something. Anyways, I had a group program that is now my flipped it into my mastermind. But yeah, I love it. Hell yeah, get it. Get it. TNC, I love that for you. I don't know what TNC means. Hello, peeps. Hey, Samara, how you doing? Thriving. Hey, volume 1 is done. Volume 2 is still waiting for proof. Okay, that's good though. That's good. Yeah, other than that, you're exhausted. Yes. Hang on. I'm going to quickly read your messages. Didn't grow up with that kind of support, flowers and meals and encouragement when I was suffering. And the internet gave me an approximation of support. I totally got hooked. Right. And that's the thing is that tell me your thoughts, friends. Like, don't get me wrong. You guys, many of you are not here or cannot send flowers and meals, but still the check-ins, the DMs, the conversations, right? It's not that there's the parasocial, then there's the online relationships, the online friendships. And that's to me what I like social media for. That's to me what social media has the power to do is have real relationships. Like Emery and I were talking this morning in the DMs, right? Like having online friendships is a good thing. And we still need in-person relationships. We still need the proximity. We need people here, right? So how are we balancing both? Learning to find that stuff IRL. Exactly. And learning to trust it. Oh my gosh. Tell me, friends, this is something that I really used to struggle with. And I now understand it's because of the neurodiversity. But I was always like better in groups of people because I could kind of hide. So I would like bring groups together and then they would all talk and I could sit back. You know what I mean? Or I'd go to things, act goofy, and then kind of sit back while people, talked. But I would get so anxious if somebody invited me for dinner and it was a one-on-one. I would be so anxious about that. And I understand now why. And it was like, because then the masking was so hard and I had to like play a role and I had to like, you know what I mean? That self-awareness of the neurodiversity piece, understanding how to connect with people who really will accept me, building that trust to unmask, to build really, really like solid relationships. That used to be that, like, honestly, guys, if somebody would have invited me for dinner, I would have said no. I would have said, or I would have invited other friends along. Like, I could not do one-on-one time with people for the longest time. I was curious if anyone can relate to that. But so this idea of trusting, right? Trusting in relationships and understanding that those relationships take time to build. They take time to build. You're not just like, like in school, when you go to school and you will like meet somebody and they'd be like your best friend on the spot. It's not like that now. Relationships take years to build that intimacy, right? And that connection and that trust. All right. Emery, I have super nuanced thoughts about this topic. I hope you're already starting to write them in. Everyone start writing them in because I'll get to them eventually. Belle, working on your July portrait special, finding it slower than usual. I wonder if other non-essential businesses are experiencing as well. People are being cautious right now with finances. Belle, everybody is, and every business is being affected. Friends, if your business is slowing down, I was looking at my average per person billing from 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and then like now what it is, it's like a tenth of what it is. People are either, depending on who your customer base is, either they just don't have the expendable income right now, or they are tightening up because they're being prepared for what's coming. And everyone's getting hit. Everyone, doesn't matter your income level, right? So these are when we're getting into bigger conversations of like pivoting and things like that. What do we got here? We still in personal relationships. Social. Yeah, we still need personal relationships, right? Emery, yes. Parasocial does not equal online relationships. Those are separate things. Exactly. And I'd love for you all right now to kind of think about that. I'd love for you to take a moment and think about the people, if you're on social media, if you were to go into your DMs, who are the people that you are talking with? Like Emery today, like again, Emery was so lovely this morning to wake up and be like, I miss you. I feel like we haven't touched base in a while, right? And that happens. We get busy. That's fine, right? But like, who are the people that you are checking in on? And who are the people that are checking in on you? I saw this really great quote the other day that talked about, we can't complain that we don't have a village if we're not being a part of the village, right? Like we have to put effort in. I remember this one made me so mad, and it was a post, and somebody was saying, don't ask your friends to drive you to the airport, book an Uber, save a friendship. It's like, no, no, that's the opposite. This is the thing with the whole gig economy, is that it is stealing what we do as friends. Take a friend to the airport, have that quality time together, be inconvenienced. And we actually did a shop talk on that last year. Is friendship inconvenient? Yes. But then we have to define convenience. This is when we have to look at things like productivity and the productivity myth. My only job is to make money. If I can't charge you for it and it takes time away from making money, what are we doing? Like, what? Anyway, so when you think of your social media relationships and friendships, are you reaching out? Are they reaching out? Are you guys in tune? Do you know what's going on in each other's lives, right? Are you being inconvenienced with friendship? And again, if we spend 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a day scrolling, then anything that disrupts that's going to feel like an inconvenience, right? And that is a part of what social media does, with this sort of like hitting those addictive centers of our brain. And especially if you're neurodiverse and you hate being interrupted when you're focused on something, as if you're scrolling and you're getting those dopamine hits and those rewards, and then someone wants you to go to the airport, or come help me with this. Of course, we're irritated, right? We got to check that. We got to check in on that when that stuff's hitting, right? Tell me your thoughts on that. I always feel like I'm preaching so much, so tell me your thoughts. I'm also always open to looking at things differently. So please, if you disagree, let me know. Thriving. I find that I tend to have a lot of people I care about. I don't think I've had many deep personal friendships. Wait, I find that I tend to have a lot of people I care about. I don't quite know. I don't think I've had many deep friendships. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. So you're saying you have people you care about, but you don't have deep personal friendships? Give me a little bit of clarity around that. When I was going through my divorce in like 2009 and 2012 and that kind of era there, it was so eye-opening at the friends I thought I had that were more like friends by convenience, by proximity. But like when I had my marriage and those friends by proximity, by convenience, kind of out of my life, and I could start to see who I was and what I wanted in relationships, and I started to really build my own friendships. Like, just really, for the first time in my life, it was like friendship was something that I just was so like protective of and was like the most important thing for me, right? Again, understanding that friendships take time to build, that intimacy takes time to build, right? But it was something I became fiercely protective of, was my friendships, right? Megan, it's going to be one-on-one. I want to be an activity so I can avoid eye contact but still connect through chatting as we do whatever the activity is. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about that. I consider online relationships like my in-person acquaintance relationships. I care about those folks, but they are not my deep, close relationships. And so, Belle, is that because that's a boundary you put in place, or because you just haven't met the kind of people you'd like to build deeper relationships with? Or is it because you're just not building deeper relationships with them? Like, I have friends that are online friends that I've never met in person, but we have really deep conversations when shit hits the fan. We are there for each other. So I do think that is very much possible. I'm curious if that's like a boundary, if that's I'm curious why. Tell me why if you feel like sharing. Thriving. I feel like group stuff. I like group stuff, but I enjoyed one-on-one. It does feel like I keep feeling strong connections with neurodiverse folks, but I've been worse than usual on follow through with anybody for anything. Yeah. And that can happen, friends, right? Like, I was just talking with a friend today, and we were talking about how life is so full and so busy, and how do we stay on top of it all? Well, the answer is to do less, which is really hard. I like doing lots of things, but it's to do less. It's to do less so we have time, right? And I think, like, for relationships, and I think that I love how we're like not talking about social at all, but of course we're not, because we're talking about relationships, because that's what matters, right? but like, again, I come back to the like productivity myth and the what is important. And we can't do everything, annoyingly, because there's so many things I want to do. But we have to prioritize for us what is most important, right? And so business, yes. Working, yes. Getting our businesses up off the ground, profitable, scalable, that is a period of time. That's not forever. That's a period of time where we are hyper focused on getting this making money and scalable so that we can do less, right? So I understand that, and that's what's up. Even in our businesses, this is why you'll hear me talk all the time about you have to do less in your business, because there's so many things you can do. There's so many ideas. There's so many things you can make and sell and create. But then your whole life becomes consumed by your business, and that doesn't necessarily make you any more successful. So where can we do less in our businesses? Where can we do less in our lives to make space for the things that are important for us? And how, I think it's that tapping into what is important to you and how can I make space for that? So that's something, again, I'd love for you all to think about right now is, TNC, the Neurodiversity Club. Sorry, I just figured out what TNC meant. I saw your post above thriving. Anyways, I think that's something I'd love for you to think about right now is truly, 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 what is most important to you? Are you making space for it? Right? Even from a business perspective, I was talking to someone yesterday. We were having a session, and I said to her, because she had 4 different offerings, and I said, if I told you you could only do one of these forever and ever and ever, you had to pick one, and that was the only thing you were allowed to sell, what would it be? Right? And when she picked that thing, I was like, funny, because the thing you want to do most is the most hidden on your website. How often is the thing that we want to do most or have most the thing that we hide? The thing we don't look at? And that makes me a little bit anxious to even say that. I can feel my heart, I can feel the anxiety kind of hitting in the pit of my stomach when I say that. Why is that? We don't believe we can have it. We think we have to earn it. We have to sacrifice before we can get there. Why is the thing that we want most the thing we often hide and don't even look at? Right? We're afraid if we get it, it'll get taken away from us. It's so funny how that gave me anxiety. I'm so curious what you think. But we before we structure lives, before we approach social media, what is the thing that you want most, guys? What do you want? Right? Yeah, friendship takes work. Friendship takes work. Friendship takes work. I posted, hang on, let me see if I can find it real quickly. I posted yesterday, because when I was going through this process, this surgery and this healing, when the doctors and the nurses before my surgery were talking about how it's a painful surgery and the recovery is painful, and trying to kind of get me prepared. And it occurred to me that doctors and nurses never say the word pain. They say pressure, discomfort. And so I was like, oh boy. And yes, this was the most painful thing, 20 out of 10. This was very painful. After my surgery, for the first 4 days, I couldn't move. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't roll over. The pain was so bad. I was mostly sleeping and on intense morphine. It was a very painful surgery. And when I came home, I had some pretty bad pain breakthroughs. I had to go back to emergency to adjust my pain medications. And someone had come in to take care of me, to help me, a friend. And that friendship ended up ending during this time. And I saw this quote, and I shared it on my stories. It says, "Someone being patient with you on your bad days is the softest form of love." Someone being patient with you on your bad days is the softest form of love. And it really just hit me, because I really was thinking about how, for me at least growing up, having bad days wasn't really allowed. Having feelings wasn't allowed. Having needs wasn't allowed. It was about me accommodating other people, but not ever having the same compassion given back to me. And as an adult, that's something that I've been working on, right? And this thing, friendship takes work. It's like building that trust. And I think as Megan talked about building the trust, building trust takes time. Letting people in takes time. Unmasking takes time. Admitting when you let somebody get close and they are maybe not the right kind of person for you takes time, and takes bravery to say, I don't think this is a friendship that I want to have anymore, right? Friendship takes work, but it doesn't just take work showing up for others, which it does. It does take work showing up for others. And it takes work to make space for people to be imperfect. But it also takes work for us to heal the parts of us that believe we have to be perfect and don't deserve softness and love during our toughest moments and our bad days and when we get it wrong. That makes sense? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Yes, friendship is being there. Friendship is being there for each other. I have a friend that is so busy, so we hang out at her Costco trips. I love an errand friend. I love an errand friend. I'll come over while you clean, while you organize your closet. We can go get our groceries together. As a mom, I kind of get the whole we don't have a village thing. Studies show that grandparents are less involved than ever, and more families are two income households more now than ever. And it's hard. You are not friggin' wrong. Megan, so many of my friends with kids are the same. Their parents, so like they're the kids' grandparents, completely checked out. Completely checked out, not interested in being there. If you haven't read the book, I think it's called Generation of Sociopaths. I think it's called, and it's about the boomer generation. Eye-opening. Anyway, it is hard. It is hard, especially because so many of us move around, move different countries, move different cities. We don't have, when my parents grew up, they grew up surrounded by cousins and aunts and uncles. We don't really have that now. It's not like that now, right? It's very, very hard. What do we got here? Oh, absolutely. My partner and I have been really focused on our families lately, helping my sister out with her kids and trying to manage things with his parents. Yeah. Especially anyone here sandwich generation where you're taking care of kids and parents, right? Well, I'm technically taking care of parents and plants, but kind of. My plant's a little droopy over there. Yeah. 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 Hell yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong, you have some support, but not as much as previous generations. Absolutely not. I think about how I lived at like my grandparents' houses, aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, right? Yeah, we were just more connected. Friendships are important, but I feel like I'm consistently falling into more of a caring acquaintanceships than deep friendships. If it were me, I know that would have been because of my fear of my anxiety, not fear, anxiety of being with one-on-one with people and being open with them and real with them. I'm curious what that is for you, right? I'm not asking you to share right now, but it's just like, I wonder why. What is that? Let's look under the surface of that, right? Or you look under the surface of that. The answer is also dissolving capitalism because it's keeping us exhausted and disconnected on purpose, 1,000,000%. That's why when I tell people, what do? I help you make money. Why? Because because when we can reclaim our time, when we have money and we're not in survival mode, when we have resources, when we have community, we can do things together. We can change systemic issues together, but we can't if we're exhausted and broke, right? And disconnected, right? That is my deeper of why I do what I do. Crystal Bell, not a boundary, just haven't spent enough time with them yet to build a deep relationship, or they don't live where I live. I know a lot of people due to my business. Yeah. Well, and I'm the same, right? I think as entrepreneurs, we get to know so many people. That's the other thing with social media friends. Let's talk about that for a second. I forget what book I was reading. It might have been, I don't even try to remember. It might have been Survival of the Friendliest. I can't remember. Anyways, it was talking about how, like, again, the way that we've evolved as a species, we don't normally know more than like 100 people. Like, we know who's in our villages, in our cities. You know what I mean? Like, it is not normal for us to know thousands of people and try to be connected with so many people. And I think that's another part of, social media and our lives is being okay with having circles of intimacy, right? The people that we know that we enjoy and we enjoy each other and we laugh and we like each other's stuff, right? We say hi when we see each other at events, whatever. But that doesn't, like, letting go of the pressure of everyone having to be inner circle and thinking about how are we building inner circle, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who are like, those are our people. And it doesn't mean that we have to be like that with everybody. That's unreasonable and impossible. But that doesn't mean we don't respect each other and like each other and care for each other, right? And support each other. It's just different, varying degrees, right? It's not normal for us to know so many people. Oh, you guys, you're the best. I love all the ways you show each other. Fear of not being good enough for me. Yeah. Yep. 100%. Again, I don't know anybody that doesn't have those feelings, friends. And I don't know if that helps you, but I don't know anybody that doesn't have feelings of not being lovable, not being good enough, being too much. You know what I mean? being difficult. Like everyone experiences that. And that's where that sort of self-compassion, self-love, self-trust has to start coming in. I always think of this sounds so funny, but I do a lot of my processing through watching TV shows and thinking of TV shows and how a friend could be a total dick on a TV show and all of their friends still love them. And I'm like, Linz, perhaps you don't have to be perfect. You can be a bit of a mess or be obnoxious or do things, and people will still be your friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that we just don't trust that people will love us, right? We just don't trust that they'll love who we are, right? This not good enough stuff, right? What do we got? What I want most, to be myself and have others receive me with gentle celebration. Yes. Yes, I was talking about that with someone the other day. It's somebody that I met through the CGLCC, and I was just saying, like, I used to think that people would love me in spite of, right? In spite of my neurodiversity, in spite of my anxiety, in spite of this, in spite of that, right? Um, Instead of people will love me and therefore love those things about me, or not even notice them. That's your thing, not even notice them. Right? So to be received, to be loved exactly as you are, to be celebrated exactly as you are, not in spite of the things that are a part of you, right? Val, I can't believe you shared that whole experience while in pain. Did you find sharing online ease the loneliness and fear for you? Yeah. Oh, sorry, sharing. It did. It did. It because it did. Because you're right. If anybody wants to see my whole journey, it's on Instagram in my highlights. It did. There were some things that I shared that I kind of took down. I was like, okay, maybe that's a little too much. Like, I think there was one I shared. It was right after one of my pain outbreaks when I got home and I was really, really in the depths of despair. I ended up taking that one down. But it did help because it like, again, it called in. It was like a beacon. It was a beacon calling in support and love from you guys. Amazing. And I don't know. I think, and this is where social media plays an interesting role. If you are a single person, if you are not partnered, if you are not in family, there is a thing about being in partnership, in a family, of being witnessed, right? Of being witnessed, of being witnessed in the day-to-day stuff, not just the catch-up calls, not just the 3-hour brunches, but being witnessed in the day-to-day that is missing. And it was a way for me to feel witnessed. Does that make sense? It was incredibly, I got to like express all the things that I was experiencing and thinking and going through and be witnessed in that. Right? So yeah, there was no motive or agenda. It was just like, hey, y'all, if you want to be a part of what's going on, this is scary and hard and this is what's up. And it just felt, yeah, like it eased that loneliness. And it definitely brought me closer to people and people closer to me, right? But not required. That's just something that I did. It was very much a for me thing, if that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was an interesting situation that happened there. I haven't really talked about it too much because it's personal, but it was an interesting situation. But I will just say it was a friendship I had been on the fence for some time, and it just sort of solidified. And it's okay to realize that whether it's a friendship, a job, something in your business that you're offering, right? A community you're a part of, whatever, it's okay for things to end. It's okay for things to be done, right? I feel so bad. I'm always like, here's the things I want to talk about, but then we never end up talking about it. Right. I left the safe cocoon of cousins because they're all MAGA. Yeah. And they treat me like I'm the bad guy. I roll. I know. It's so hard. It's so hard. I was watching something last night that talked about the time is going to come where this death is going to occur, whether it's now or in the future, and everybody is going to be online, and it's going to be this incredible thing of people who are celebrating that person's death and the people who are yelling at the people for celebrating the death, and businesses and people are going to be writing these like press releases and statements, and it's going to be such a big deal online, or maybe it won't, who knows. But yeah, the MAGA thing, It's rough. I just was watching a video. I watch a lot of anti MLM content, and I was watching one, and it was this person was sharing how they had lost their fiance to an MLM business. Like, we have that's because that's another thing with social media, right? The dangers of social media is the way that we get siloed into very quickly into these sort of pipelines or beliefs, and how vulnerable people, again, people who are alone, in isolation, teenagers, seniors, who are going through brain development or brain d undevelopment, vulnerable people who are alone in isolation get sucked into these pipelines and these silos into religion, politics, cults, whatever, like getting sucked into these places where it is just so destructive and so continues to be isolating, right? um Social media plays a strong role. There was a someone that did a study, an organization that did a study, or like that's an experiment, we'll say an experiment, on how quickly they would get sucked into the alt-right incel misogyny sort of pipeline. And it was within, I think, do you guys know what study I'm talking about? I think it was within 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. It was ridiculous. And it was the profile they created was like a young man who was into fitness, and how fast they got sucked into the misogynistic incel alt-right, sort of like pipeline, like pipeline, like silo, social media. Yep. For me, it's more of an energy time issue. I have limited spoons, so between business and managing family things, I just don't have much energy for planning things. Yeah, that's right now. So people are reaching out, and I'm like, guys, I want to hang out with you. I don't have time. I don't have capacity to plan. So if you just tell me the plan, I will open my door and you can come on in. But yeah, but that is it, right? And even saying that, right? That's something we can communicate. Like, hey, I really want to hang out with you, but I'm out of spoons. Do you have the spoons to coordinate something for us? Communicate that, right? Ask for what you need, right? Oh, Emery, already making money to end being financially stable and connected. I cannot wait to be out of the startup phase. Yeah, that's why I'm just going so hard in my first years. It's worth it for me to put in the labor. Exactly, right? And that is what we do as business owners, right? We put in the work. We put in the work in those first few years, 5 years or so, 5 to 7 years. And you won't have to work that hard for that, right? But that sort of trajectory of idea to amalgamation to growth to pre-scale to scale, this takes time. But those first certainly 2 to 3 years are hard, and you are sacrificing, right? You are saying to your friends, I'm here, I'm working hard, I love you, I'll see you next month. Like, we are making those sacrifices, right? Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, but it pays off if we can make it work, right? That's not totally fair. Some of my cousins are very progressive and also tried to extricate themselves and have thanked me for their work, and which is, yeah, super touching. Exactly. This is the thing, right? Is I think we see people that get into these places as bad, right? And it's like what was I watching? Oh, it was this one about like talking about Elon Musk and saying how, everyone thought he was this genius until they got into this sort of thing with Trump and all this stuff, and how it turns out he's not a genius, he's just an idiot. And it's like, no, that's the fallacy. We think that only dumb people, are the ones that get sucked into this kind of thinking and these kinds of, situations, right? And that's not true. Even smart, I don't want to say smart and dumb. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, even people who are well educated and well connected, can still get sucked into that stuff. It's not like I love learning about like cults and stuff, and like the like cults and religion, and how people get sort of sucked into these things, and whatnot. And like, it's all types of people, because it has to do more so with vulnerability and isolation, right? It's people who are vulnerable, isolated, alone. They get sucked into that. Our brains are really susceptible to that, right? And so we tend to think of people as bad people, and they're not bad people. They're vulnerable. There was a need, and this whatever organization, this whatever they joined, it validated something in them that needed to be validated, right? Yeah. In spite of concept, echoes ableism thoughts I've had. Yep, 100%. Absolutely. Rooted in ableism. Yep. Right. Rooted in, we could go as far as saying rooted in eugenics. Yep. I've had wanting to to succeed despite disability rather than succeeding with your disability. Exactly. Exactly. Right? Feeling witnessed. Oh my God, I feel that so deeply right now as I'm splitting from my nesting partner. It's hard. Yeah. Yeah. The being witnessed is it's an important thing. Saw a great but devastating post about living in a loving but toxic family. Like, you bring me fruit without my asking. You say horrible things. I remember decades later. I love you. I resent you. Yeah. That was something that I was learning when I was going through my own healing journey from my own abuse as a child. And, one of the things that was said to me was that just because you guys had fun, that did not negate the abuse, right? Just because you did cool things together and they brought you fruit does not mean that the abuse wasn't there and is the more important thing that needs to be addressed, right? Being witness makes sense. I thought you were very brave asking for help. Thanks, Belle. You know what? I can see why you would say being brave. I didn't feel brave because that's a part of me that I have worked on healing over the years. But a decade ago, I would have said that was very brave. That's the thing with when we heal these parts of us that we ask for help, it just becomes normal. It's no longer brave because it's no longer scary. Does that make sense? It's no longer when things aren't scary to do, we no longer become brave for it, right? It's like when I was going through my body liberation journey and my fat liberation journey, and I would wear shorts and a tank top or a bikini to the beach in a bigger body, and people would think that's so brave. Well, sure, because if you still have fear, then that is a brave thing to do, right? And it does take being brave until it's no longer scary, right? It's a continuum, right? Yeah, Emery's going through it, everyone. Emery's going through it. Yes, another thing you're talking about, Ari, incel alt-right pipeline thing. It's wild, right? Yeah, that study or that experiment. I gotta pull it up. You guys, I'm the worst at like finding cool things and then I forget to like save it so I can reference it later. Sometimes I think the internet and social media has been one of the worst things for humanity. Yeah. Don't worry, AI is just getting started. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. But you're not wrong. I mean, friends, when the social media conglomerates don't let their kids have social media, don't let their kids on these things, like, what does that tell us, right? What does that tell us? His intelligence, whatever it is the least important thing about us. He is cruel and that's what matters. Yeah, exactly. I'm actually writing a novel right now about cancel culture, abolition, and the central question of what do we do with bad people and how do we move forward with people when we cannot forgive. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. So you say novel. Are we talking then it's going to be fiction? Does a novel mean fiction? I always attribute novel to fiction and book to maybe fiction or nonfiction. But yeah, cancel culture. That would be a great group conversation to have too. Feel very fortunate that your family is pretty progressive. Yeah, my mother, sister, and I are very focused on supporting my other sister with her kids through her divorce process. Yeah. Yeah, divorce is rough. Divorce is rough. You get it. Brave because you were taught not to ask for help. Exactly. And that's the thing. Be brave, guys. Be brave because, we are brave until things are no longer scary and then it's just normal. And so I want you right now to take a moment. I'm going to get into our notes right now, but I want you to take a moment and just think about our notes for our last 15 minutes. Don't worry. I'm going to go through a couple of things. Then I'll move us on for the day. But I want you to think about where is an area that you need to be brave? Where is an area right now that you have fear that you need to be brave? You want to be brave, right? Because you only have to be brave until it's not scary anymore, until it's just normal, right? So where do you need to be brave? Where do you want to be brave? Right? So let's talk about, I'm going to wait for your answers. Let's talk about social media right now as business owners. I'm going to get logistical now, technical now, okay? Because one of the things, I don't know if you guys saw my email this morning where I was like, I'm going to rant because it just makes me annoyed when I'm on social media and I see people talking about, oh, you're stuck in like view jail because you only got 200 views, or you got to follow this formula, you got to do this thing, and the whole focus is on helping you go viral, grow an audience. Why? Most service-based entrepreneurs, social media is not going to be how you get your sales. And to be a social media influencer, which is where other businesses pay you to market their products to the audience you build, right? You're the billboard, right? You're being paid to be a billboard, right? To be an advertisement. That is a full-time job, right? As a business owner, you have so many things that you have to do. Social media is not generally where you're going to get your customers because, again, think of the last time you scrolled Instagram and you saw someone you knew. It wasn't an ad or a suggested post or someone you follow who's a giant creator, right? So I see these people out here selling entrepreneurs on how to get the right formula, how to go viral, how to use trends. Unless you are growing an audience because you are a billboard who wants to promote other people's products, what are we doing? Right? Actually, I'm going to share this with you right now. If you haven't already, I mean, most of you I think are in my Ick Free Sales community. So if you are, go do the work go do the course, right? But if you haven't yet, you can start with my 4 Business Building Basics. It's free. Social media is the slowest way to build, the most nonsensical way to build a business, right? By posting on social media. So how do we use social media to build a business, right? And this is where we think about, how are we using it to connect with people, connect with potential clients, connect with potential collaborators, right? People who have an audience you'd love to get in front of, people you'd love to do something with, right? I want you to start viewing social media not as a place where you have to create content and throw into the black hole of nothing, right? And I want you to start looking at social media as, how do I use this as a personal directory, a way to find people who I vibe with, that I can collaborate with, that I can build relationships with, right? The other way to look at social media is, once people do become aware of who I am, how do I use social media to continue to build relationship, right? Where am I DMing or getting into stories, right? Understanding that even your followers aren't generally seeing your content, right? But they might see your stories. Although I heard that Instagram is going to be moving the stories into the feed. Why? Because nobody goes in the feed anymore. They would just watch people's stories, right? So from that perspective, social media, creating original content, that will take so much freaking time, and it's not going to be how you're going to build. It's going to be about the networking, the public speaking to other people's audiences, right? If you're going to create content, how can you create content that's going to be more searchable, like blogs or YouTubes, right? I want you all to just be like dead serious with yourselves right now and go, how much time am I spending creating content? And is that growing my email list and my sales? And if it's not, we have to rethink the way we use social media as a tool for connection, right? Not for creating content endlessly, because all that's doing is making the Zuckerbergs of the world richer. You're keeping people on the platform and sending business to other people who do paid advertisements. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not benefiting you. So what are we doing? The other thing with social media that I want us to really talk about is, again, this idea of the parasocial relationship, which we covered thoroughly. So I'm not going to go into it again, but look at where the parasocial relationships are replacing the actual relationships, and where you need to take a step back from social media and get more into connecting with the people who are in your life and nurturing those relationships, giving that your time, right? Or if you do have friendships on social media, how you're taking that off the app, whether you're meeting in person or you're having a Zoom, a coffee, whatever, right? Where are we letting ourselves get sucked into believing we have relationships that we don't actually have, and how can we give time back to that? And another thing I'd love to hear your thoughts on is this whole rage baiting thing. So there's a science behind why we are typically more drawn to and will respond to negative things, right? That comes from that survival. Our brains are more likely to pick up on the negative things, the scary things, the things that make us mad. And so, they talk about how, like, the algorithm, is only showing you negative things. Well, it's not that. It's that's the stuff we respond to. And the algorithm shows us more of the things we respond to. So it's not like the algorithm is designed to show you that. It's that that's what we naturally respond to, so that's what we see more of, right? And so when you're sitting here and you're watching somebody tell a story about some drama that happened at the gym or at work, or there's celebrity drama, or there is someone sharing something that is like, they're sharing posts and video clips of something terrible and tragic and scary happening. And we're consuming that. Do you ever just stop and be like, why am I watching this? What does this have to do with me in my life? My friendships, my relationships, my family, my business. And I'm not saying that in regards to it's all about you and you're not a part of an ecosystem that is our world, and to ignore what's going on outside of you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we get sucked into these things in other people's lives that have nothing to do with you. And we get mad, or we pick a side, or we have an opinion, or we leave a comment, or we get sucked into that. Why? What is that doing for you? And what is that stealing from you? And then what happens is we start seeing more of that stuff. And now we're constantly in this state of being angered or annoyed or afraid or sad. How is that impacting your mental health, your energy levels, right? Your hope, right? Your belief in your capacity to make an impact and to change, improve your life, to improve lives for others, right? So I'd love to hear what you think about that. And I know, so here's what I'm going to say, right? To this one. Hang on, where is it? My social media is almost exclusively for nurturing folks, essentially existing as a living gallery of what I'm doing. Okay, sorry, no, I thought you were going to say something different. I see what you're saying there. Because one of the things that I used to say is, oh, well, but my feed is full of positive things. My feed is full of uplifting things. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because it's still working on that addictive center of my brain that if I just keep swiping, the next thing is going to feel good. The next thing is going to give me hope. The next thing. We are still continuing, whether it's negative or positive on our feeds, we're still continuing to give our time and attention to a computer in our hands. And it is taking away from, hang on, let me make sure I didn't accidentally call somebody with my hand. It's taking away from real, authentic connection with people, or our own hobbies, right? Or our own self-care needs, right? So even if, well, but my feed is really positive, I don't care. It's still sucking you in and keeping you on your phone for hours, right? Tell me what you're thinking. I said a lot. I haven't seen any comments in a while. Tell me what you're thinking. What is this kind of bringing up for you? Are you thinking, yeah, I never thought of it that way? Or yes, I've been noticing that. Or no, I disagree with you, right? As someone who's very good at going viral, there are definitely plus sides, but you got to be ready for it. Prepare on the back end, or it doesn't really matter. It's all vanity. Exactly. You know how many times oh gosh, friends, I don't want to be a jerk, but you know me, tough love. And somebody will show me, like I'll be working one-on-one with someone and they'll show me their social media and they'll say, look, I went viral. I'm like, great. How many new subscribers did you get your email? How many sales did you get? Then who cares? Who cares? The only one that cares that you went viral is the app because they're the ones making money. Who cares? What is the point of going viral? I have a client right now, and she's been going viral over on TikTok for a while now, like just going bonkers viral. But she's like, all it's doing is making me be busy responding on the app and staying on the app to try to keep that going. But it's not really resulting in any more sales, right? Who cares? Tell me your thoughts. I'm a little bit nervous. Nobody's been commenting for a while. I'm a little bit scared. Did I lose you all? Have I pissed you off? I hope not. These are the things that I think about. The difference between being a paid influencer and an entrepreneur. This is what I was saying, right? People look at social media and don't realize, unless your goal is to be an influencer, right? Now, here's something I will say. If you want to be like writing books, a published author, being on stages, yes, there is a reality in our world today where they are looking at our reach. That is a reality. So I'm not saying not to build, not to show up, not to participate, right? But understand that, first of all, we have to use it intentionally, not the scrolling, not the whatevering. But we have to think about also creating content is not usually the way we get new followers, right? It is still getting into other people's audiences and pulling them into our social media, right? You know? So it's that push pull of like, okay, we live in a world where people want to see these numbers. It's so annoying, but it's a reality, right? So how do I then think about, okay, I want to actively build my social media, but I also understand it's not real. Do you see what I'm saying? Hang on, where'd my mouse go? My mouse on the wrong screen. All right, we got some thoughts coming in. Oh, Kate, what's up? How you doing? 100%, so much time. Find the people that will help you. Focus on getting sales. Yeah, if you're in your early stages, you've got to focus on sales. Keep finding myself getting sucked back into social media posts, but want to focus more on what will actually find me clients. Exactly. Right? That's why I talk a lot in the IC-free sales system. I talk a lot about batch creating, scheduling, getting on with your life, because this is not what's going to bring in sales in the beginning, right? But we still want to have some kind of presence, right? I get that. Megan, I think I'm seeing both sides. I love socials. I have fun on there. It's a source of joy for me, but also I absolutely see the way it can be addictive and hard for my personal attachment style. 100%. Right? And that's what I'm saying. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't have to do that. But how are we being intentional and aware, right? Mindful of our consumption, right? There was a study that was done that talked about dopamine and how we burn through our dopamine much quicker, right, on the phones. And so this is why after being on the phone for a couple hours, we feel like such a lack of energy and a focus and have a hard time doing other things that need to be done in our life or in our business because our phone used it all up, right? So then, I sit here going, I don't generally use my phone too much in the morning other than like, checking in on messages, messaging a few people, and then I get on with my day. But if I'm sitting here scrolling, I notice that I'll be there for hours and I'll be like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, ugh, what do I want to do? I don't know. I'm just going to go watch TV. Pay attention to how your energy drops, your focus drops, your motivation drops after using your phone for any length of time, right? How do we use it in a way that's fun, but doesn't steal all of our time from us, right? What is this? Oh my God, please, social media gods, never let me go viral. It's the last thing I want. Yeah, it's a lot. I went viral on TikTok under my other account, my Fantastical Fatty. I've been viral a few times. Oh yeah, you're going to prepare. You're going to get lots of hate. Lots of hate. It's going viral. If you want to keep going viral, it's a full-time job to manage going viral as well, right? And I never feel good when I get off social. Wait, hang on. Let me go to your first part of your message. No, it doesn't match. What do you mean? And never feel good when I get off social. Sorry, to what I was saying. Yeah, like you end it and you're like, ugh, now what, right? Lindsay, we are all quiet because you're listening to your sermon. I'm like, man, I must be really pissing you guys off. Nobody's saying anything. Well, I can always count on Megan to come and bring different perspectives too. So I'm like waiting to see who's going to say what. Think, what is your purpose? Is it meeting that purpose for me? It's a tool. Exactly. And that's something I really want you to take away from this. See, here we go. I knew you were going to disagree and I love it. Bring it. I kind of disagree that going viral doesn't lead to more subs. My subs have gone doesn't. Oh, no. I'm not saying it doesn't lead to more subs. I'm saying, does it lead to sales? Does it lead to email list subscribers? Have your email list subscribers gone up? Have your sales gone up? Yeah, going viral will get you more subs. Yes, like more subscribers on the platform. But that's benefiting the platform. As a business owner, are you getting more email subscribers? Are you getting direct sales? Right? And sometimes that's because you need to now follow it up with sales content. You've got an audience and they're there. When you go viral, people are now, they're getting your content for a little while. It doesn't last forever, but they're going to see you showing up in their feed once you start going viral and they like your stuff, you've got a very short time where you're going to be showing up in their feed and in their stories. Are you coming through with social sales content? And yes, when you make sales content, that stuff gets suppressed. You will not get as much on out of it, but you might get some, right? Are you getting sales? So no, going viral will get you more subscribers, but will it get you sales? And that's what people need to pay attention to. People will often equate likes, shares, subscribers with growing a business. But is your business growing, or is the social media platform growing? The business that they're getting, right? Have you heard of cyberloafing? It's basically where we take 15 to 20 minutes in between tasks to scroll, and it can actually help us transition. It's kind of like digital water cooler. That's exactly what I do. Social media I use as transition time. I'm the exact same. I use it as transition time. I'm transitioning from one thing to the next. I'll play on my phone. Or the other thing I found, and this is something I don't want to do. If I'm working on something and I hit a wall, I have to make a decision. I have to do something and it's not clear, or usually it's around decision making, I will go to my phone. That's the thing I'm starting to really tune into. Nope, Lindsay, make the freaking decision. Don't go to social media. Just make the decision and move forward. Why are you afraid of making this decision, right? I have an issue with decision making. I mean, I think most people do, right? So yeah, but I do agree that I use it big time as transition, right? Big time as transition. My reel went viral, was not related to my business, so of no use. Exactly, Sue. Exactly. What's the point? And that's what I'm saying. What's the point? Your emails will grow by 200%. Fantastic. I love that. Amazing. And this is where I say, if social media works for you, if you're getting sales, if people are buying from you because of social media, then stick with social media, right? I'm not saying to not do it. I want you to do what works. I want you to do what works. So if social media works, do it. Right? And a lot of times social media people will grow, but they won't make sales posts. They won't make posts telling people to purchase, right? Or they don't have a very good sales funnel, right? Maybe they're on your email list, but let's make sure they're the right people on your email list. They're going to make a purchase, right? And how are your sales funnels behind your email list, right? How are your sales emails? So if social media is working to attract the right people, get them on your email list, invite them to join you, right? I love doing something live, right? So whether Instagram lives are kind of garbage, TikTok lives are pretty good. I don't do Facebook lives anymore. I used to, so I have no idea the status of those, but we do these lives, right? So if your social media is working, if you're getting attention, use it. Get people onto your email list, get people into some sort of live event, and make sure that you're letting people know how to work with you, how to buy from you, right? So it's not just about posting content. It is how are you interacting with the people who are following you? How are you inviting them into your world? And how are you offering them the opportunity to buy from you, right? So I think sort of in summary here, it really is saying to ourselves, what is important to me? What am I making time for? What is important to me that I'm avoiding making time for, and how come, right? Social media, it's not all bad. And it is a great way to connect with collaborators, with other like peers, with besties, with leaders, and with clients. When we get the attention of potential clients, potential customers, how are we inviting them to connect off of social media? Are you sending people to your email list, inviting them to something live? And how are we making sure to let people know how they can make a purchase? If you want more, here's how we can work together. Here's what you can buy from me, right? And then just paying attention to when we start doom scrolling or we start giving up our time, our precious, precious time with loved ones, with building relationships, with building hobbies, with building relationships with ourselves. When we are giving that up and getting all of our dopamine sucked up by apps, right? And we are getting caught up in other people's drama and rage, and it is negatively impacting us. Just really being mindful. Sorry. Yeah, no, we do. We come from different angles on this. You're amazing. I'm so happy to learn from you. I'm listening to her. No, I know you are. That's what I said. I always love when you bring in different perspectives because, friends, this is just my perspective, right? My perspective. We all have different perspectives. It's also age, right? I'm getting old. I grew up without social media. Social media is not a natural thing for me. I don't speak social media. I honestly hate it. I don't like it. How many people here, if you didn't have a business and didn't have to be on social media, you wouldn't be on social media? right? Like it's annoying. It's an annoying thing. And I'm not gonna lie, I resent that I have to build an audience in order to be taken seriously. I think it's baloney. In fact, I would tell you that anybody who has a big audience probably is not that good at what they do unless they've been at it for years and years and years. Because you can either build an audience or you can build a business. I don't know. Controversial opinion. What do they say? Hot take. Anyways, we all have our own perspectives, and I love when you guys bring in different perspectives because mine is not the only one and my way is not the only way. But I will just say, we'll wrap it up and I'll leave you with that, which is those 5 things that I said, which is, right? How are we using it mindfully and not getting caught up in the rage baiting and other people's drama? You have to ask yourself as I'm scrolling, is this improving my life? Is this adding to my life? Is this the best use of my precious, precious time on this earth? Okay. Number 2, when I am using it, how am I using it to connect with people, reach out, DM, connect with people? Number 3, when my clients, potential clients are paying attention, how am I getting them off the app, onto my email list, some sort of live event and making a sale, right? What was the other ones? Being aware of the parasocial relationship and how am I building real relationships in my lives, and then life, and then the last one, which is what do you really want to be doing that you might not be doing, and where do you need to make more space for that to happen? Right. Let me read these last couple of comments, and then we're going to get out of here for the day. Belle, you were saying, I would delete so many apps if I didn't have a business. Literally, so many apps would be gone. Yeah, on them so much less. Yeah. I definitely disagree with that. I think making all that content helps you define your own POV and makes you better at what you do. Fantastic. If that's what serves you, then do what serves you. I love when I see people in business who are not on social at all and making it work. And it is possible, right? There are lots of people who don't use social media. It is possible. It depends on your audience. It's not possible for everybody because if your audience is on social, that ends up being where you have to be, right? Yeah. Good question to ask myself. Oh, you're so welcome. All right, friends, I'm trying to think if I got anything for you. If you haven't already joined the ICFree Sales community, I got the QR code there. Go ahead and scan it. Come on and join us. We have our hot seat business coaching coming up next week. So if you're not already registered, get yourself registered. Actually, one of the things I did as well is I put a Google Calendar together so that you can integrate it with your calendar. So those have been going out in the emails with instructions. So if you haven't already, go look at the email. So I'm going to, every couple of months, I'll kind of update it. And so you can go and put the calendar directly in your calendar. All the dates are there. It's all saved for you. The links are there. So go and do that. We have hot seat business coaching on Friday at noon on Zoom. Anything else going on? I mean, I think that's kind of it right now. If you didn't already do my 4 business building basics, you can. It is here. Go ahead and grab that. Obviously subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. And I don't know, friends, I'm making space in my own business right now so I can start making more videos, like actual, like the little how-to videos. I'm really excited to have a whole lineup of videos that I want to make. So watch for those coming soon. And that's kind of it for right now. I don't know. We're chilling. I'm in my healing journey right now. I'm healing and taking it slow, as slow as I can take it anyway. It's hard to take it slow. I love to do things. Friends, thank you so much for today. This has been awesome. As always, I love all of your input. I love all of your perspectives. They are all valid. Always at the end of the day, you're going to do what's right for you, what works for you, what lights you up. If it doesn't light you up, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to end things. And use social media to connect, take those connections offline or at least off the apps, and get out there and be amazing.